Dark beings exist. They actually can negatively affect people and cause them to go into dark places. I know because sometimes in one-on-one sessions, I have to pull dark beings out of people. That said, once you know what they are, how they operate, and what to do to minimize contact with them, then you're way more empowered and don't have to be in fear, which is the whole point of this episode. And after the discussion, we get to the most important part. The group frequency calibration associated with this episode is where the frequency work happens and where change actually occurs. So be sure to listen to that. Without releasing distortion patterns targeted by the GFC, the change you want will be more difficult to attain because you haven't addressed the root of the issue. If you like this episode, please help us out by hitting the like button and leaving a comment below. It helps us get our content to more people like you. My name is Karen Cheong, and today in Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, we're talking about dark beings.
We're really going to go there. We're going to do this topic that we knew could potentially trigger a lot of people.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let me start with a story.
Okay.
When I was a wee lassie in Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
I used to see dead people.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like Sixth Sense.
Yeah, no, it does sound like a movie.
And I know that there's people out there listening that think that's cool, but it's not.
Uh-huh.
It's not. When you're a kid and you've got some scary dead people circling your bed and hovering above you, it's bloody scary.
Yeah.
There's nothing exciting about it.
No.
And I was young, and I want to know why. Why did that happen? Because they never went away. They never went away until frequency work.
Mm-hmm.
And they were always there somewhere messing with me.
Mm.
I want to know why.
Yeah. I'm totally happy to answer that. And before I delve into that, what do you mean by messing with you?
So, like trying to sleep. They would come in and create nightmares, or they would literally touch me and they're freezing. Like,
Yeah.
I'd feel them on my body, I'd get cold, the room would be like ice. It's like what you see in the movies. It's ridiculous. You know, you think it's just a movie, but it's real. And then later in life, they would kind of be in my life in a way that would sabotage. It was more like sabotage. You know, I'd go, do something, I'd get so far, and then suddenly something would come in that just didn't even relate and stop whatever was about to happen. And, you know, as I went further on in the journey, I had to discern, okay, what's mine and what's not mine.
Yeah.
And that was hard.
Yeah, totally. So what I'll say is there are a number of unseen beings, okay? And the ones that I encounter most often when I'm working at frequency level with people, usually through IFCs or one-on-one sessions, are dead people who are dark, because not all dead people are dark.
That's
Okay,
true.
so just to make that really clear, some dead people are helpful. Also entities and aliens that are dark, because not all aliens are dark, just like not all dead people are dark.
Okay. All right, don't go any further.
Okay.
What's the difference
Okay.
between, I think another between an entity and a dead person, and I'm pretty sure I understand what the difference is between an entity and an alien, but could you cover what the difference is,
Sure.
especially between the entity and dead? Because I thought they were interchangeable.
Yeah. So dead people that are dark are people who have died and are not very high in their vibrational level. And so they aren't actually going through the normal death process, which is a form of ascension. So if you don't know what that is, then you and I have talked about demystifying the dead and a whole, like we did another episode on what the dead are and what that process is. So go check that out.
Yeah.
So those are what we would call ghosts. Okay,
Right.
They're in the denser realm of the human. They haven't actually moved up in their vibrational level, moved out of the human realm. So because they are still within the human realm, if they were as a human on the darker side, okay, so meaning, you know, not all humans are the same. Some of us tend to be kind and helpful and nice. And some of us are really interested in power. And some of us want to do things to cheat other people and that type of thing. So if you're dead and your frequency resonance is low and you haven't ascended, you'll take on or keep some of those heavier, darker traits of the human. So when I say the dead who are dark, it's the dead who tend to be the ones who like to create fear,
Right.
who want to have power over someone else, that type of thing, because they were like that when they were human. Okay? So that's what I would call the dead who are dark. And that's what you experienced. Right? They
Right.
wanted to provoke fear because when they provoke fear from you, they sort of gain more power in the sense that they like feed on your fear as if it's like food. Okay, they feel more powerful because ultimately, I know it's going to sound weird, they're not empowered. They're in this limbo between the alive, embodied world and this death process that they really should be on, but they're not. So they're in this weird sort of purgatory realm, which is kind of horrible, actually. So they don't usually feel empowered. So by making you, in this example, feel afraid, they feel powerful, like, rah, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
So did they choose somebody like me because I wasn't strong enough in my frequency?
They chose you because they knew you could see them and your spirit body was porous.
Right. Okay. Okay, so we can come back to that. Can we circle back to that? Because that will explain how you can actually push these people away.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's stick to the first
solution.
question.
Yeah. And so the second thing is the second type of being that you mentioned is an entity. Okay, so what's an entity? And there's a lot of stuff on the internet about what entities are.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of story. So before I even go further down this, explanation, this is meant to empower. Okay?
Yeah.
This discussion that we're having is not here to create more fear in people. The purpose is for you to understand what these things are.
Yeah.
Because when you understand them, you're less afraid of them.
Yeah.
And then to know what you do.
Totally.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's really about keeping your resonance up. So I just want to make that really clear from the outset before I launch into what entities are. Because there's a lot of fear-mongering on the internet and a lot of storytelling about what all these different things are. And some of it's accurate and some of it really isn't.
Yeah.
Okay. So an entity is simply a being that's from a different realm. So what is a realm? What the heck is a realm? So everything is about vibration. And the thing is that there are different space-time resonances, and those different space-time resonances define your experience. So the experience that we're having right now is defined by a specific space-time vibration. And so there are different space-time vibrations. They're infinite ones. And some of them have beings that are darker, and they will have fallen into this one, not necessarily because they wanted to. Some of them got pushed. Some of them made a mistake and ended up here. Some of them are, yes, predatory, and they come to prey on humans. The bottom line about entities is they need to feed on your bioenergy, your chi, in order to sustain themselves, because on their own, they'll just, like us, they'll kind of die if they don't have someone else's life force.
Yeah.
So the thing you need to understand about an entity, here's the bottom line, is they need your life force to feed off of. So if you don't allow them to feed off of your life force, they'll go somewhere else because they need a host. They need something to eat.
Right. So that's another tip for how to actually make sure that they can't come into your field. So we'll come back to that one as well.
Exactly. That's the how to deal with them tip.
Yes. So, because I remember once somebody describing it, which made it, for me, took away all the fear. So this person said to me, imagine, Fiona, somebody pulls you out of this space-time reality right now. You're sitting here with Karen and they suck you up with a vacuum cleaner and they shove you into this dimensional reality where the sky's purple, the grass is red, and people are like big heads or two heads, things like that.
Yeah.
How would you feel?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And top it off, you're in a cage.
Yeah.
You can't move. You're stuck there experiencing that.
Yeah.
You'd be scared, you'd be angry, you'd be everything, right? And this person said that is what this entity feels like.
Yes.
When they're trapped in your field.
Yep.
They've been removed from their reality and they're trapped in yours. Now they're kicking up a fuss because they're trying to get back.
Yeah. They're trying to get back and they're trying to survive long enough so they can get back. And the survival part requires your bioenergy.
Yes.
That's the part, right? That's the feeding on part.
Yeah.
They have to survive for long enough to get back to their realm, and they can't get there on their own. And so what I'm going to say about removing entities, and I'm sure we'll circle back to this, is that a lot of people, when they do cleanses, like, we go to shamanic things and they're like, I'm cleansing you. And all they do is they chuck the entity out and the entity is now floating around and it will just zip into someone else.
Yeah.
The way that you actually do this in a higher level frequency resonance, so everything is winning, is that when I'm releasing an entity out of someone, which doesn't happen that often, but it happens sometimes.
When do you do that?
Only in an IFC.
Okay.
Typically, that's what happens. I suppose it could happen if we were doing something like in a group, but usually when we're doing a group frequency calibration, the field is so strong the entities can't enter. So in any case, if I'm releasing an entity from someone's field, instead of just chucking them into the air, which doesn't serve anybody, doesn't, in terms of like, yes, it's gone for the person, but the person is still porous and something else can come in. That's what I mean. It doesn't serve the person.
Yes.
And the entity is just out there looking for another host.
The next person is porous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is I just push them back into the realm that they came from. So, and then I release the distortion patterns in the person that caused the entity to come in the first place. Because honestly, whether it's that entity or another entity, if you still run the distortion patterns that call them entities, you're going to call in another entity.
Yeah. Okay, so let's come back to the IFC and when you're removing it, because that's what this person told me as well, that you have to have a really specific way to return it back to its dimensional reality or it will hop.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're in the IFC and you're removing, if you see an entity in a person, and you've removed it.
Yeah.
Now, when you say you've removed it, you've sent it back to its space-time reality.
Yeah. And the way it works, in case anyone's curious, is there's this tiny little gap between space-time resonances. It looks like almost like a little hole to me. I'm not saying this is anyone else's experience.
Yeah.
But it's like a little opening. And I just literally shove them right through the opening. And it's funny, if they're an entity that is really strong, what will happen is they start screaming when they start to push them through, and then they start laughing when they start going through because it's relief. So they're in resistance to me at first, but then they're like relieved because they're going back. So it's actually a win for everybody.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're gone. They don't want to come back.
Yeah,
they're
I was going to get there. That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that they're kicking up a fuss because, like you said, they're plugged in and getting life force.
Yeah.
Now you've just unplugged the life force.
Yep.
And so you're shoving them in, but when they realize where you're shoving them, they're happy. And then it closes up.
Yeah. The portal just closes.
Right. And so the person, there's no way that entity can come right back into that person.
Yeah. So that entity is definitely gone. But the trick is that most people aren't aware of, if you don't deal with the distortion patterns that are attracting the entities in the first place, you're not really dealing with the root of the issue because something else will hop into that field.
The next chance it gets.
Yeah, exactly. So some other entity that's floating around out there is going to be like, oh, look, porous field. Let's come on in here. Because remember that you are like broadcasting a frequency out into the universe. And if part of your frequency is like, hi, I like to be oppressed. Or something like, I deserve to be hosted in, or I have an obligation to let something into my field, or something like that, they're going to come in. Do you want to actually begin to clear the distortion patterns we're talking about? Then click on the link in the description below to get the free group frequency calibration meditation specific to this episode. That's where the change actually happens.
Okay, let me break that one down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine there's a few folk out there saying, I do not ever choose that. So, and I still have it. How come they're still coming into me and I don't run that part? And I've never, ever want somebody to come in and be hosts to them. And
So it doesn't need to be intentional on your part, right? It's not like you wake up one morning and you're like, gee, today on my list of things to do, I'd really love to host an entity. That would be amazing.
Have a tea party with an entity.
Yeah, exactly. Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
For most people, it's running through their lineage patterns.
Right.
Okay. And so, or past lives, meaning you've done it in your past lives and you're repeating that same pattern in this lifetime.
Now, why would you repeat it in this lifetime then?
Because you haven't cleared it. You see, you need at some point to clear it. It's something for you to resolve in a lifetime where you recognize that you actually don't need to host anything else, that you are strong enough, that you have authority over your own space, because that's part of the awakening process, to know that you have authority in your own space, that you are worthy of having your space be clear for yourself and pure source alone. That's part of the awakening process. So for some people, what will happen is they're waiting to resolve it in a lifetime where they get to awaken as well. So it's part of the awakening process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what I think you're saying is you actually can't awaken until you've cleared all these things from your field?
Yes.
Okay.
You cannot be awake and have entities in your field because they're really dense.
Yeah.
You have to remember all of these things I'm talking about. And actually, I didn't talk about the third thing yet, which we haven't gotten to yet.
We're coming to that. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten.
Are the dark alien, what I would call a dark alien. So whether it's an entity, a dark alien, a dark dead person, the resonance is very heavy. That's the bottom line.
Right.
They're very, very dense.
Which is why they need to be plugged into you to get the life force.
Exactly.
And the brighter you get,
the more valuable you are because the more they get from you. And the thing is, if you're to be awake, like if you actually really literally are awake, your resonance is too high. You can't have things that are dark in you and be awake.
Right.
But what I want to make a distinction is you can have gifts and have things in you. I've seen this happen. And, there are people who can do things that look jazzy on the earth plane and look very spectacular, but they have issues with entities.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Because I want you to talk about aliens.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of talk at the moment in the field about aliens, and aliens are going to be coming and they're going to be rescuing us, or, that they're making more contact, that the U.S. Army have been in contact with them for years, but, they're not disclosing any of that.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about aliens being in our field, or do we host aliens? Is that the same thing?
Well, they can come into you kind of in the same way as an entity, but they're different. Okay, so remember, everything is frequency resonance. Like, we're talking about these things and there's a lot of story around it, but really everything is a frequency resonance. So the vibrational level of aliens is different from an entity. They're just different kinds of beings.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I just want to make it really clear. Not all aliens are dark.
Yeah.
And not all aliens are good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like saying all humans are good and all humans are dark. It's ridiculous, right? So aliens are like a massive group. Okay? There's millions of races of aliens. And what I mean by alien is just any being that's not seeded from the earth.
Yeah.
Okay? And so I know a lot of people get threatened by this, but, we are not the only planet with a life form on it. There are many, many, many other planets and stars with life forms on it.
Systems, universes, galaxies,
multiverses, etc. So it's kind of ridiculous to think we're the only life forms in the multiverses.
Yeah.
So in any case, aliens, just like humans, are neither all dark or all good.
Yeah.
It depends what kind of alien you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So the thing about aliens is that there are some aliens that are really helpful. They actually are of a higher dimensional order. And the other thing I just want to note is aliens are not just one dimensional order.
Yeah.
They're of multiple dimensional orders. It depends, like I said, what alien you're talking about.
Yeah.
So typically speaking, not always, but typically, aliens that are of a higher consciousness level are helpful.
Yeah.
Because they want to help consciousness to rise, and they're in service to the highest vibrating order.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Then you have aliens that are lower in consciousness that are predatory.
Yes.
And, there's a lot on the internet about this. So you can go down the whole rabbit hole about the greys and the reptiles and blah, blah, blah. So yes, those aliens exist and they are predatory. Mm-hmm. They also tend to not have emotional bodies and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I mean by dark aliens.
Yes.
So aliens are beings that are not seated on the earth that are predatory. So meaning that they would like to have more power for themselves over you. Mm-hmm. So that is a dark alien.
Yes. And the lighter aliens, I heard one time that they don't take an actual physical form. They have a light form.
Yes, that's right.
They know how to use their Merkaba field.
Yes.
So they don't require a spaceship.
Yes.
They don't require anything physical to move from dimension to dimension. They literally use their Merkaba field to do that.
Yes, or said differently, their light body. So you'll see, if you're high enough in your frequency resonance, you'll perceive them as spheres.
Yeah.
And they don't need to, like you said, honestly, if you have to use a mechanized spaceship to travel, kind of low resonance, not very evolved.
It's an indication.
Yeah, exactly. But the beings that are of a higher vibrational level or a higher consciousness level can manipulate their light bodies and they can travel with them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just to be aware that a lot of people think, well, if they're an alien, they must be more advanced.
Yeah.
And they may be more advanced in terms of technology sometimes.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean they're more awake than you.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people are like, well, they must be more awake because they're different from you. Yeah, they're different from you. But it's like I said, they're a different range of aliens, meaning they're at all different levels of consciousness, just like humans can be, ascended masters and that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for beings that are not seated from the earth. So just be aware that if they're in a spaceship that's metal, that chances are they're not very evolved from a consciousness perspective. I'm not talking about from a technology perspective, but from a consciousness perspective.
Yes. Okay, so we've covered the dead people, good and bad.
Yes.
We've covered entities, which tend to lean on the not so good.
Yes.
There are good ones, though, you're saying?
It's more like with entities, stay away because they're dark.
Yeah.
So what I'll say is, entities aren't exactly straight up. It's not like they're, it's not like they're necessarily really honest with you. Like, hey, I'm an entity. I'd love to possess you. Can we do that? You know what I mean? It's not like they're asking. It's not like they're being super transparent about who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, now I'm talking about humans now.
Yeah.
Some people want to have a lot of power. They want to have magic. They want to be able to do certain things. They want to be really famous. They want to be really rich. They want to, whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And some people will play with dark magic and call in things to give them more power, to give them more money, to give them more fame. And some entities are powerful enough to help you get that. But the price is you have to let them host in you. That's what I meant by they can give you like powers or gifts in that way.
Right.
Makes sense? It's dark.
Yes.
But there's a trade.
Yeah. Oftentimes a piece of your soul, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is about the piece of the soul. You know, as humans, we really don't value our soul in a way, like generally speaking, because we're not really super aware of it. We're like, yeah, okay, whatever, there it is. I'm sure, you know, I've heard about it, but who cares? But the thing about it is that you are infinite, indestructible consciousness, which is an extraordinarily highly vibrating, let's call it, I guess, thing. And remember, your consciousness is infinite. So if you give away part of that consciousness, like you tear out a little piece and give it to something else, now you're not complete. You've actually given away part of that infiniteness to something else, which is extremely valuable because think about how much energy that is. That's like a ton of potential. So I just want to say that as humans, we don't actually understand what it means to give away a piece of what we call our soul. But it's a huge challenge because now your soul is like not complete because you've traded it.
So it's kind of like you really are, I know they've said it a lot in the Bible, seduced and tempted by, you know, the devil kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we just assume that these entities are coming from that type of intention.
Yeah.
Because as you said, if you're not fully intact, how can you awaken?
No, you can't. That's kind of the problem. But the thing is, more people value power and they value influence over and they value money on the physical plane more than they do the infinite realm of, you know, the spirit.
And understanding your power as a co-creator.
Yes,
right? They
exactly.
don't really see any value or even believe in it.
Yes,
right?
exactly. And so they don't understand how high that price is because they think only from the perspective of this plane, the physical. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the three defined, I think, clearly enough that people have an understanding of what the difference is. Now, what I would love to talk about really is, okay, so some people have these, I'm going to call them possessions.
Yes.
They have
what
these
they are.
possessions.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this wanting to, okay, how do we stop it?
Yeah.
First of all, how do I recognize it?
Yep.
And then second of all, how do I stop it?
Yeah. So first, before I even answer that, which I'm happy to, because this is about empowerment, remember, is you have to remember that fear is one of their most powerful tools. So if you're watching this and you're going into fear right now, just become aware of your center and be aware of, sense your connection to pure source, which is always available to you. Just do that right now if you're in fear. And then allow for your heart to become brighter, okay, with your own brilliance. So I'm saying that because fear will drop your frequency resonance like a rock.
Yes.
And once it does that, those things can like come in real quick or they can grab hold more firmly or that type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay? They use it to manipulate us. So just know to be mindful of fear.
And I would like to add, don't give fear of being fear.
Yeah, exactly. exactly.
It's like, I can just imagine some people, I'm getting scared.
Exactly. And to watch your mind, you know, because your mind wants to create all these stories like, oh my God, now I have an entity. You know what I mean? Like you probably don't, you know? And so just watch your mind in the story.
Or even asking the question, have I got an entity? It's like, whoa, why? Don't. Refuse.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to have one.
Yeah.
Bugger off.
Yeah, exactly. Like I won't have one.
No chance in hell. Bugger off.
Yeah.
Right. So go on. Carry on. So now you're saying watch your fear. That's one of the first
Okay, so one of the first tips is to watch your fear. To secondly, watch your own thoughts. So it's like, you know, you could be a generally happy person. Okay? Everything's good, normal. You have good connection with your family and your friends. But then all of a sudden, you start to feel not so good about yourself. And you start to have really dark thoughts.
Yep.
And you start to feel more and more depressed. And you want to participate with fewer and fewer people. And the people who seem like higher vibrating in your life, or people that you normally would connect with, because they make you feel happy and good and you feel good with them, you start to like not want to participate with them.
Yes.
And you start thinking really shitty things about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? That could be an indication that something else is inside of you.
Yes.
And if it's an entity, sometimes an alien, it'll whisper to you. It'll tell you to do things that you would not normally think about.
Yeah.
Like take your own life or harm yourself or harm someone else.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about like here you are totally normal, and then like sort of quickly, but sort of like, it's going to sound weird that I'm saying gradually and quickly at the same time, because it doesn't take that long.
No.
But it kind of like seeps in. It's
Yes.
not necessarily like, I was normal today and tomorrow, ding, now I'm something else. Do you
It's
see?
insidious.
Yes. It can like seep into you. And the more that it's there, it's like you get heavier and heavier and heavier. And the more you withdraw, your resonance drops, and then it like infiltrates more into your field.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how you recognize that something's wrong.
Yes.
Something is off.
Yes.
Like you're like, whoa. And people are saying to you like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. You all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, the dark thoughts are like a real indicator. So that's how you know. And the other way it can show up is, we can walk into a space. So sometimes, I don't know, you're traveling somewhere and you go into a space and all of a sudden the hackles go up in your neck. You get like, and you feel like really not good. And you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't be here. Like it feels terrible to me. But the funny thing is, we're oftentimes so conditioned to be polite, we will stay in that place, even though it feels really terrible. And even though we know we shouldn't be there. And so when that happens, it's not great for us.
Oh, I have a story I can share with that one. So when my son was a little toddler, we were invited to a marae in New Zealand, which is a meeting house.
Yeah, for the native Maori.
For the native Maori. Yeah. And people were gathered. There was lots of people from all over the world. And then the esteemed elders came in.
Yeah.
And everyone's silent. And they're in awe of the esteemed elders, And as one got up to talk, everything was fine. Everything's fine. My son's sitting in my lap, And he's 3, maybe 4. And then when the next elder gets up, he starts saying, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here, Mom. I don't want to be here. And I'm like, shh, 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 shh. The elder's talking. Because I was caught up in that whole thing as well. And then he's like, I don't want to be here. Now the whole room can hear him. And this elder's like, oh no. Anyways, the elder keeps talking, and then my son says, get me out of here right now, Mom. I don't want to be here. And of course, I'm like, what do I do? Totally embarrassed. Like thinking, oh, no. And of course, all the daggers are on me from all the people from all over the world. Get a hold of your son kind of thing. But something inside of me knew, because my son would never really do this.
Yeah, he's not typically like that.
He's not like that. And he was like, getting up off my lap to pull me out.
Yeah.
So we got ushered out, of course, taken to the kitchen and everything's fine. Have a cup of tea, la, 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 la. Well, we found out about 2 weeks later that that elder was a pedophile. And was possessed.
Was
basically.
possessed, yeah.
And that is another sign.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the thing about that is your son was not conditioned to sit there.
No.
So that same instinct that he had, we all have. It's that thing where you're like, you're just scared. You're just like, oh my God, I should not be here. You don't know why. You don't need to know why. Just get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's something in that space that's heavy and dark and terrible. So it could be a dead person that's dark. It could be an entity. It's less likely to be a dark alien. But, it probably is one of those two things.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
Either way, it doesn't match your resonance.
Yeah.
So get out.
Yes. And so the thing is, when you remove yourself from the space, now here's where a lot of people go into fear. They're like, oh my God, I've removed myself. Is something dark in me?
Yeah, has it attached?
Okay, so here's the thing, people. If you are in your center, and if you're aware of your body, and if you're aware of your connection to pure source, you have authority in your space. It's your space. So a lot of people forget. They're like, they do all the different thingies. I'm like, seriously, just be aware of your body. Be aware of yourself in present moment time, like your feet against the earth, your body. And you're like, okay, here I am. How can I become even more aware of my connection to pure source? And just know that if you're in your body and you're aware of your connection to pure source, you have authority in your space.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's like number one thing. is to remember that. And if you need more help after that, you can listen to a group frequency calibration. You can schedule an IFC if you're really freaked out about it. Then go ahead and do that. And that should help.
Okay, so I'd like to come back to that thing, the tip that you just gave. I don't want to call it a tip because it just sounds like something you should do every day, really, right? But when you're in the authority and you're holding your space with authority, do you do anything else, or you just hold it, or you just build on it, or do you just do you say anything? Do you just sit there breathing it in and push? Do you push out anything?
Yes. So if you have the wherewithal, so that was like a very super beginner tip.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's beginner tip number 1. If you can, I would say do what I teach in the hold your space or the confirm the removal process, which is to be aware of that center and then to push it out of your field. Okay. Now, if
sorry, I'm being really picky.
Yeah.
Push it? What do you mean by it?
So if you feel like there's something dark in your field, right? Like heavy, dark, sinister, makes you like you're still freaked out, then it's to push whatever that is out of your field. Now, it could be your own fear.
Exactly. I was just going to say, could it be your fear?
Yeah, it could be your own like freak out. Whatever that is, it's to get it out of your field.
Yeah, because fear lowers your resonance.
Exactly.
So you don't want that either.
No,
right.
Terrible.
Okay.
So you can listen to so backing up, before I say listen to the group frequency calibration and confirm the removal. So the thing is, when you're in fear, like we said many times before, your frequency resonance drops. So the reason I'm suggesting you listen to the group frequency calibration is because it will pull your resonance up. Okay? Because here you are, you're freaked out, you're scared. So your resonance is like, right? When you listen to the group frequency calibration, you're like, okay, here I am back in my center because that's what I do. Meaning I, Karen, pull you back into your center. Yeah. Your resonance will go up. Then you can clear it out of your space from a place of centeredness.
Yeah.
And you'll feel better.
Okay. Yeah. All right. When you're talking about pushing something out of your field, okay, and because you found your center, you're sitting in your center, in your authority, your connection to pure source, you're feeling your brilliance inside, and now you want to push out whether it's fear or whether it's an entity. So the process, does it look like this? Like I'm sitting, I've got that center, I feel my field. Do I push it with my hands? Do I push it with my mind? Do I push it with... Is it all of the above?
Yeah. So when you're doing the confirm the removal process that I teach, right, and that is available on our website, it's typically for distortion, so meaning fear, right? So that in itself is helpful because remember, fear drops your resonance like a rock. So to answer your first question, it's like, what am I doing? So the first thing is that you become aware of your body in this present moment of time. You become aware of your connection to pure source, like you just said. You then become aware of your center, which is right here in the center of your solar plexus. Imagine your brilliance growing and then like pulse it outwards, like vroom, right? Out through your field. Now, some of you will feel like you need to push it with your hands because it makes you feel good. Some of you will need to yell, get out. That's fine. Do what you need to do. That typically will release fear. Now, if it's an entity, that's different because it's not a typical distortion pattern.
Yes. Well, I mean, is it a distortion pattern? It's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a thing. It's like a bundle. It's like anything is like a package of frequencies. So if that package of frequencies is in your field, you need a little bit more help to get it out of your field.
Yes.
So what it will do is it will help you to drop the fear level, and which is really helpful because then, of course, now your resonance is higher.
Yeah.
So the thing is, even if you have to really watch your fear because it will really prey on your mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing with story is we can think, oh my God, is there something in me? Is there something that's in my space? Is it going to start to mess with me now? But it may not be. It may just be your mind. So I'm saying that I'm suggesting that you pay attention to your mind. If you are now a couple of weeks on from whatever the experience was and things don't feel right to you, things are just off and something is wrong, at that point, I would suggest booking an IFC at that point because you probably need a little bit more help to release whatever the thing is.
Yes. And I would like to come back to the point that you made earlier that the help, of course, that you can give is to remove the entity, but you also need to address the underlying distortion that allowed that to filter through into the field in the first place.
Yes.
Which is, remind us again.
Yeah, so there are a bunch of different distortion patterns from anything from lineage to non-deserving to feeling obligated to have something be in your space. You might also be running an abuse pattern where something has to abuse you in some way or that you must be oppressed. Like, I don't know what the thing is until the person's in front of me, right? But these are what kinds of things can be there. And as In addition to that, often what happens is not only do you have these distortion patterns, you have somebody who has a really porous sphere body.
Yeah.
So that sphere of light that's all around you at arm's length, that instead of being this really tight weave like a cotton and very, very, very bright, it's got like holes in it. It's kind of like a loose cheesecloth,
Yes.
or like a loose linen or something like that.
Moth-eaten.
Yeah, exactly. And so things can come in. So in an IFC, what we can do is help you to strengthen all that and to release those distortion patterns so things just don't come into you anymore. I've talked a lot about holding your space in this episode and how it's really helpful for keeping entities out of your space or anything dark. It's also really helpful for keeping negative emotions from other people or stresses or urgency out of your space. But if you'd like to know how to do it, then check out my next video. I'll see you inside.